What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Today I'm going to be showing off a Snorlax VMAX deck in standard format using the Welder engine. I got this idea from one of our local league goers here at Full Grip Games, Holden Sheeks. He had gone 3-1 at one of our league tournaments with a WelderLAX deck, and I was really impressed by his list, so I took a lot of ideas from it and made some tweaks and ended up with this Snorlax VMAX Welder Firebox deck that has been a lot of fun to play. We've been playing on stream, so if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream every single weekday. This deck is awesome. Snorlax VMAX, very good in expanded format, obviously, but in standard, still rocking that 340 hit points and capable of dealing 210 damage for just 3 energy. It's very difficult to knock out, which plays to this deck's advantage, since you can stow fire energy on Snorlax VMAX and then pivot to Pokemon like Heatran-GX, moving all the energy off of Snorlax VMAX onto Heatran for a huge burning road, and then Hot Burn GX. Hot Burn GX can easily take care of any big tag team Pokemon that you need to knock out. Similarly, you can switch into a Turtonator and Explosive Jet, discarding all of your fire energy off of the Snorlax VMAX to KO big threats such as tag team Pokemon or Pokemon VMAX with 300 or so hit points. So I really like the synergy there. The 4 Fire Crystals are great in combination with the 9 Temptations Ninetales, and one of the great things about playing Fire in Standard right now is that you have access to Ninetales and that Infinite Gust ability. Not only that, we have evolutions in this deck which can hit Obstagoon through its Obstruct attack, which is very good. Not only that, but the Gust is also great against Obstagoon decks, which have been gaining in popularity lately. So let's get into some gameplay and see how this WelderLAX deck works. Fire has been really popular lately, getting second place at the Oceania International Championships at the hands of Zach Lesage, but it's just continued to remain popular because of the fact that Zacian V is one of the most popular decks in Standard right now and is weak to fire. Not a lot of lists during the Oceania period were playing Metal Frying Pan, which negates Zacian's weakness, so players have been quickly exploiting that by utilizing powerful fire decks such as Zach's Welderbox deck. One of the things that I really enjoy about this list, and an idea I got from Holden's list, is that he plays an explosive search engine for Great Ball, for Pokemon Communication, and for Quick Ball. And there's not really that many attackers in the deck, but you don't really need that many, considering that Snorlax VMAX worth 3 prizes and very rarely gets knocked out. So we're going to start things off with a Great Ball to see if we get any Pokemon there off the top. We do not. I can Quick Ball, and I think I want to see if I can get rid of, well, to be honest, I don't necessarily need to Day change this turn because I've got the Vulpix Ninetales. I can Quick Ball for a Snorlax and then just put it down. So let's see what we Stellar Wish for first. I'm kind of curious and see if we find anything else. Another Great Ball is good, and we can just use that, see if we find something worth grabbing. We've got our second Ninetales and a Victini Prism Star. Victini Prism Star is good, and we can just grab that and then Quick Ball away the fire energy. And we've got a pretty substantial setup for our next turn. We've got Snorlax and Vulpix ready to go, and then next turn I can just Day change and see if we hit the Welder double fire combination. So ready to go with this hand. Snorlax V, no energy on it turn 1, but that's okay because we only need 3 energy to be able to G-Max fall. We're going to want plenty of benched Pokemon so that we can G-Max fall for our maximum amount of damage. Looks like we're playing against a fire deck. Like I said, fire decks have been very popular on the ladder. Snorlax VMAX is cool in the Fire Mirror matchup because it is relatively safe from one-hit KOs. You're not really worried about Reshiram and Charizard. Double Blaze GX does not touch this thing, which is great. And then we do have the option to pivot, like I said, into Heatran to take big knockouts, Turtonator as well. So I think that we do all right in the Fire Mirror match. And the Ninetales is not only good against just about every deck as far as Gust is concerned, it's also very good against Dullstall or Cincino Mill, rather. If you're playing against a Cincino Mill deck, it is very good to be able to 9 Temptations and bring up things that are on their bench and gust around the annoying Lily's Polka Dolls that are going to be flooding their field. Now, many of the Cincino Mill decks have wisened up, are playing Stealthyhood. I've seen Lunatone and Solrock, as well as options to turn off Fire Pokemon's abilities. Now, this list used to play Reset Stamp. Holden's original list had 2 copies of Reset Stamp in it. Decided to cut the copies of Reset Stamp, and I feel like with this deck, we got 3 Dedenne and are just constantly burning through resources, trying to make big plays happen. And I found myself discarding Reset Stamp more often than using it. So that was my logic there. And I'm curious to see if my opponent will go in with the Steaming Stomp. I'm assuming they will. They've got an energy here. They're just going to Steaming Stomp my Jirachi for knockout. Now, if we draw well off of this Day-Day change, certainly possible for us to respond to this Heatran with a knockout, but I do need to find a Welder. Something about this list, we're not playing any Pokegears or anything like that, just the Jirachis and the Dedennes, and try to find our Welders that way. Compared to most Welder box decks, this deck does not need to hit Welder as often as a traditional Firebox deck because Snorlax just tanks really hard. It doesn't get KO'd. So that's really nice. I'm going to bench the Victini, attach the Fire Energy. I believe I could just Day-Day change the Fire Energy, actually, because that turns my Fire Crystals into a live search for fire. And we did hit it. So I've got the Jirachi, but I do need to find another Pokemon. So let's go Giant Hearth, and we can get rid of this Snorlax VMAX. I am pretty confident that we are not going to be utilizing that. And then we can Welder the energy onto Snorlax VMAX. So let's go there. And we've got Great Ball and get ourselves another Jirachi. So that's fantastic. We could fill our bench with double Jirachi, or I could just Pokemon Communication, which I'll probably do. I don't want too many Jirachis on the bench. We can grab ourselves a Turtonator, and I've got the Welder Giant Hearth for next turn. So we've got an easy pivot into Turtonator. Heatran is prized, so Turtonator is going to be the turtle for the job here. And then we've got Gmax Fall for 210 damage, just taking that Heatran completely out. Snorlax, a definite force to be reckoned with. I mean, look at this beast. 340 hit points. My opponent, I know they have no way to deal with the Snorlax. Even if they hit a Welder double fire this next turn, they are just going to be scratching at this Snorlax, trying to weaken it up. Whereas I have my Ninetales set up already. I can Giant Hearth and just gust up their Dedenne. If they don't take out my Ninetales this turn, I have an easy out to gust up the Dedenne and knock it out. And then if my opponent plays one more Dedenne-GX onto the bench, then they're going to have to worry about me ending the game on that. Love the 4 copies of Switch in this deck. It's great because a lot of times you'll lead Snorlax and want to pivot into somebody else, a Turtonator or Victini, and I kind of have that 3-pronged attack already built up on my board. I've got the Turtonator here. I could Giant Hearth, Welder to the Turtonator, switch, and potentially do 300 damage next turn. And this is one of the most powerful things about the Snorlax version of this deck, is that I know my opponent cannot take the Snorlax out of out of play. So I know those 3 fire energy are safe, which means that I just have the potential to do 300 damage next turn, and my opponent can't really easily disrupt that. If this was a Heatran-GX, it could easily get knocked out with a Welder double fire play, but it looks like my opponent attaching to the Ninetales might not have a whole lot going on here on their side of the board, and they just might not be able to respond to the aggression of Snorlax with its Gmax Fall attack. Bringing up the Turtonator seems like a little bit of a desperation play. We'll see if they've got somewhere to go from here. 1 energy on Ninetales. I mean, that seems like a little bit of a concession that they don't have much. They're going to switch into the Ninetales and pass. That is certainly tough. Now, we have got a fantastic play ourselves. We can Fire Crystal, and I love that we can just bring that energy straight back from the discard pile with ease. more fire energy to the hand. We'll Welder to our Turtonator, and I would not be surprised to see if maybe my opponent scoops it up here. We've got the switch into Jirachi, Stellar Wish, and we got ourselves another switch. That's great. But for now, I'm just going to use 9 Temptations and gust up that Dedenne and just use our G-Max Fall for 210 damage. Just taking another huge knockout here, moving on to just 2 prizes remaining, and my opponent left with just a Jirachi and 2 Ninetales in play. Snorlax just getting out of the gates so fast, and you can see how much pressure Snorlax puts on the field, since standard format has kind of warped itself around the popular tag team Pokemon. We've got Arceus, Dialga, Palkia. We've got Garchomp and Giratina. These Pokemon with like 270, 280 hit points. That is the normal. That's the target that most decks are trying to hit. Mewtwo and Mew tag team GX, 270 hit points. Most decks are just not equipped to deal 340 damage, and why would they be? Snorlax is not a major threat in this format, but that can play to your advantage, especially since a quick Snorlax is just very hard to stop. And then with the backup of cards like Turtonator and Heatran, it can just immediately punish any sort of big Pokemon that tries to stop you in your tracks, like Reshiram and Charizard. I've got 1 energy and a switch, and I've got a knockout on a Reshiram and Charizard right now. My opponent has no way to remove this energy from play. The only thing they could do is theoretically, Welder 2 energy attach and Gust Double Blaze GX by Turtonator. That is for 1 prize. That just seems like a whole lot to have to obtain for just 1 prize, and probably not worth it. And I really do like the Jirachis in this deck as well. I was a little bit skeptical at first as to whether or not we needed them. Holden's originally list only played 2. I've upped that count to 3, and I really do like the Jirachis, especially since G-Max Fall just requires that the bench be packed in order to deal its maximum amount of damage. So you're really going to want the Jirachi hanging out on the bench, especially since one of your biggest plays in this deck is to pull off that shake and bake pivot where you switch the Snorlax into somebody like a Turtonator or Heatran. You're going to want to get a bonus trainer when you do that. And we just have game here, 9 Temptations, double fire energy onto the Dedenne-GX, and a quick execution there with the Snorlax VMAX Welder deck. It is a lot of fun to play. We're going to try one more game and see how it goes. This deck really likes to go first from the games that I've played with it. If you go second, your opponent can overwhelm you before you get to evolve into Snorlax VMAX. So this is nice. We do get to play first here. You also do not like to start Dedenne-GX. So thankfully we do have Heatran and a pretty decent opening hand. Pokemon Communication, Heat Factory, and the Dedenne we can hopefully draw into another Pokemon. It looks like I'm playing against a Galarian Obstagoon deck, so hopefully we could just get a quick start and set up well against this deck, because this matchup can actually go either way. So I've got a very strong start, and I'm just going to kick things off with a Heat Factory. We've got Pokemon Communication. I can get myself a Vulpix down, which is very ideal, so we'll do that. And then we also are going to want to get a Snorlax down. Though I'm not sure if I want to put Snorlax down right away, because they will be benching their Galarian Zigzagoons this turn, and that is something that we're going to want to try and dodge with our Snorlax, because they will place the damage counters on the Snorlax with the intention of eventually knocking them out with the Yveltal. So I think I am going to skip the Snorlax getting benched this turn, and I'm just going to pass it. So don't actually have to worry about knocking out Galarian Obstagoon for a couple of turns. I've got a little bit of the luxury of time, especially playing first. And it looks like opponent using Evolution Incense. Maybe they've got a Pokemon Communication or something in their hand and just trying to thin before Stellar Wish. Maybe their hand's not that hot. Certainly possible. Galarian Obstagoon has been just really increasing in popularity lately. Apparently has done well at some special events as of late, but it looks like they are getting off to a brutal start just with nothing going on. And I have got the Welder Gust Knockout on that Jirachi. If I can just find one more energy, which we easily do. And I've got the Ninetales as well. When you're hot, you're hot. You know, you feel it's just a very, very strong start from our deck over here. So we've got the Ninetales, and I would not be surprised if my opponent just scoops it up. But this is just the power of Welder Box, really. I mean, there's not too much else going on here other than the straightforward aggression of Welder, Ninetales. Snorlax can be good. Heatran's insanely good at putting pressure on the opponent, especially when comboed with Ninetales, because you get to 9 Temptations and just bring up whatever you want. Something particular that I do like about this list is the fact that it plays the Fire Crystals too, so that every time that you use 9 Temptations, it's not like, oh, well, I'm going to have to use the Victini Prism Star eventually in order to throw the energy back into the deck. We're just confident with 4 fire in the discard pile that I'm going to start seeing those Fire Crystals, and we can just use those. My opponent's still putting up a fight, though. They've got Rosa. They can get themselves the Galarian Zigzagoon and a rare candy for next turn. I am just going to be digging into the deck with Dedenne and targeting down every Galarian Zigzagoon they put into play, because I know that that is going to be their attempted win condition. So we can put Victini Prism Star is probably like a fine card to have. We don't necessarily need it, but it's not bad. And I think that we have prized our other Snorlax, so we're just going to go Jirachi, Victini Prism Star, into Dedenne. I think I would rather save the bench space and just go day-to-day change, and I don't think that we're necessarily going to need that Victini, so we can just let it ride. The Victini is primarily for, let's see, we've got Pokemon Communication. Quick Balls thin the deck a little bit before we go in. With the Heat Factory, I think it's worth it to do. So we've got the Fire Crystal and a Welder, very strong. So we could grab the Fire Energies back, and we just have that 9 Temptations again, putting on so much pressure. And I've got the Welder as well, to Welder Fire Energies onto the Snorlax V, just to have those in the bank for when I eventually get Snorlax VMAX into play. And there he is. And we've got the Escape Board, but we're just going to Steaming Stomp for knockout on the Galarian Zigzagoon and the Scoop. So we got out of the gates quick. It's exactly what we want to do. Galarian Obstagoon is a pretty tough deck when it gets up and rolling, especially since it does also have the ability to knock out our Snorlax VMAX with that Yveltal GX. So having to play around that is pretty tough. That was a short one, so we're going to play one more and see what TCane 2 has in store for us. Maybe we've got ourselves, I think I saw, what, Fire and Water or something on their deck types. So I'm curious to see what is in their deck. And hopefully our Snorlax deck can perform just as aggressively as it has been in these last couple of games. We've got a crazy opening hand here with 3 Great Ball. It looks like they are playing a Fire deck too. 3 Great Ball, Pokemon Communication, and a Quick Ball. And I do love the free search of Great Ball. It doesn't always get you what you want, but it does often find you a Pokemon, which can be good for Pokemon Communication. So I feel like we, at the very least, have a very easy time setting up our Pokemon, which is important. Getting a quick Snorlax VMAX is one of the major tenets of this deck. One of the major selling points is just quick 340 hit points Snorlax VMAX, and just being very aggressive with that. My opponent playing Baby Blacephalon. Very scary matchup because they can one-hit KO a Snorlax VMAX. However, they did not have the most explosive start in the world, so I'm hoping that we are going to be able to capitalize on that. We've got a couple of Great Balls to kick things off, and then probably just a day-to-day change. We've got Turtonator, we've got Vulpix, and we've got a Dedenne. So now we can just Pokemon Communicate for the ones that we want. So we can grab maybe Heatran, probably the best lead for us. So we are going to grab that. We've got Heatran, we've got Vulpix, and then I can maybe just Quick Ball one more time and see if there's anything worth thinning out of the deck. I'm thinking that the second Vulpix probably isn't needed. So we can just pitch that, and then we're going to data change. So I'm going to put the Fire Energy into the discard pile just to activate the Fire Crystals in the deck. And we've got a great hand here with Fiery Flint and Fire Crystal. So I can just bring that Fire Energy back from the discard pile. I don't actually want to get rid of any of these other cards with the Fiery Flint yet. So I can just go here, grab that. And we're going to Welder 2 Fire Energy onto the Heatran. Just get out of the gates really quick. And then we've got the Fiery Flint, can guarantee us the third, so we do want that. Just grab those 4 fires out of the deck. And we've got a turn 1 Steaming Stomp for 130 damage, knocking out my opponent's Jirachi. And then we are threatening turn 2 a Snorlax VMAX, a Ninetales, and just looking generally pretty strong from here. I don't have a Welder or Switch or Quick Ball in my hand. We did open a lot of Great Balls in Pokemon Communications and Quick Balls. So they've only got a Welder for 1, maybe signifying that they don't have a hand with a lot of fire energy in it, and they have to resort to Blazer, revealing another Blacephalon. However, they do have a couple of lucky eggs down. We did find a Pokemon Communication, so I can use Dedenne this turn if I want to, and I think I do. I want to knock out the active for sure. Actually just going with the Ninetales. And I think just knocking out the active is important. I don't want to give them the Giant Hearth, so I'm just going to take this knockout, and I feel their hand a little bit. We're just hoping that their hand is awkward, and only getting a draw of +2 gonna put me in a relatively decent spot. But we just need to kind of keep the gas going, and hoping that Heatran can just carry us through this matchup, because this matchup is very scary, especially since the Blacephalon can just deal such big numbers. Unfortunately, they did prize a Blacephalon, and this is their third one. I mean, I've KO'd 1, they prized 1, and here's number 3. So they don't have a lot of other Blacephalons left. And if they have to pass again, maybe with the Jirachi and the active this turn, then I can use Ninetales, bring up this one, and KO it. It looks like they are looking for that, though, since they are going for Blazer here. So now I'm going to, knowing that their hand is dead, they revealed another Blacephalon. Wow. So I think I just KO the active, and that should just be game. We've got the Escape Board and can just retreat into Heatran, put the energy onto the Snorlax, and we'll gladly knock this out because they just revealed that they have 2 Blacephalon prized. So I don't care if they get the bonus draw. That is all 4 Blacephalon accounted for at this point, and in order to find one, they're going to have to take a prize. And I'm not sure that there are really any other attackers in this deck other than maybe Blacephalon GX, but Blacephalon GX, I guess could do 150 damage to my Heatran, Welder Double Fire, and use its attack for 150 if they got rid of all 3. I don't think that this deck plays Ordinary Rod or anything like that, so we're getting the quick scoop again, and another quick win on the back of Heatran-GX and Ninetales. Just a nice little 1-2 punch there with Snorlax there to pick up the scraps. So it's looking real strong. We'll do one more, and see how this one ends up. Looks like I'm playing against Lightning, Fire, and Colorless deck. Will Conran. All right, Will Conran. What's your Lightning, Colorless, Fire deck got in store for us? And we're going second again. So hopefully getting another quick Heatran. Going second, that is usually going to be our best bet. But going second with this deck is a little bit scary since we really want to go first and get the quick... oh, this is just going to be, I think, a Welder box deck. Just a traditional Welder box deck. So we've got another Welder box mirror. And these Welder decks have been all over the latter. No, it's a Magcargo deck. So I haven't actually played too much against the Magcargo decks. I know that one finished in day 2 of Oceania. I haven't necessarily been super impressed with them so far, so I hope I get proved wrong here and my opponent's Magcargo deck really fires off and I can get to see what this deck is all about. It's got that Lava Flow attack, which does 50 damage plus 50 more for each energy you discard from it. You can use the Magcargo from Celestial Storm in combination with the Rangaroo's Primate Wisdom to guarantee yourself energy on the top of the deck in order to crushing charge and accelerate that energy onto Magcargos. So the idea is that the Magcargos kind of accelerate energy onto themselves, and then you discard that energy in order to perform big attacks. Magcargo GX, 210 hit points, so a decent amount of HP, and can take big one-hit KOs. So what's not to like about that? It's got the built-in consistency engine as well, since we do have the Magcargo from Celestial Storm, which allows you to smooth over and pick the top deck of your choice. So let's see what we got here. Great Ball, Quick Ball, Snorlax VMAX. We've got Jirachi off of the Great Ball. And then I'm thinking that I just want to get going here with a data change. We'll grab Heatran. I've got a Snorlax VMAX in the deck. I've got a Snorlax V in the deck. So I'm not worried about discarding that one. And then we're just going to data change. Losing 2 Fire Crystals, a little bit tough. Never love to do that, but it's fine. We'll go here and just, I think, attach the actual fire energy to the Heatran. And then data change. Looking for Welder Double Fire. We've got Fiery Flint. Now, going here with the Fiery Flint is a little bit scary because we have discarded 2 of our Fire Crystals. So there's only 2 left in the deck. So discarding Fire Energy aggressively here is not going to be as strong as it would typically for us. I'm not going to give my opponent the Giant Hearth. I don't really need to. We do have the Welder, so hopefully I can find a switch and just get kicked off very fast. I don't want to give them a Giant Hearth, like I said, so let's see if we can do it. We have a switch or an escape board. Yes, we do. And we've got Great Ball, and we've got Pokemon Communication. So I think I'm going to Great Ball first. We're going to whiff it, and then we're going to Pokemon Communicate the Snorlax VMAX for a Vulpix, either a Vulpix or the Snorlax V. I actually think I want a Snorlax V, and then we can maybe go for something else next turn. It's just I want to have a backup attacker should something go wrong and my Heatran gets destroyed this turn. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you never know. So we're going to dive in with Heatran. We've got the Steaming Stomp for 130 damage and a quick knockout, which is great. And you can see the consistency with which that we are able to pull off this quick Steaming Stomp, which just does put a lot of pressure onto the opponent. And just losing that active Pokemon before they get to play a supporter. I've got this energy in play now. If they don't respond, so I'm going to have potentially 6 energy in play next turn. And with 6 energy in play, I can really make a lot happen. Benching the second Jirachi, always a little bit greedy in the Welder decks because you're going to lose room for something. And right now that something is Ninetales. I don't necessarily have room for that Vulpix, which feels a little bit bad. My opponent's hand's small, and they don't have access to the Giant Hearth. I held that from them. So we'll see if they... Yeah, and sure enough, that play paid off. They could only welder 1 fire energy to the Slugma. That's going to really set them back because even if they would need, what, an attachment from hand, and they would need a crushing charge acceleration in order to knock out my Heatran-GX, and then they'd have to discard all of the energy from their Magcargo. It's certainly possible, though, if they get Magcargo GX and they can Lava Flow for 200, which is 3 fire energy. They have the Fiery Flint, so they are going to be, I guess, able to do that. They can Fiery Flint, they can put the energy, they know that they're going to crushing charge, they are going to take this knockout. So we're going to be promoting Jirachi and going for a Snorlax VMAX knockout on the Magcargo. Fortunately, Magcargo has 210 hit points. So right there in that sweet spot for Snorlax VMAX to potentially knock out. And we'll see if we're able to pull this play off. I've got Quick Ball, so we're going to just be going in looking for a Dedenne data change. The Snorlax VMAX is in the deck, Fire Crystals, 2 Welders, and plenty of Escape Boards. So we do have some decent options to hit it. And let's just see what we can do. We've got it all, except we don't have the Snorlax VMAX yet. So we need one more card. So that's fine. We can Fire Crystal, bring some fire energies back, and then we can Giant Hearth and thin the deck a little bit more just to guarantee ourselves as deep of a search as possible, thin our deck as much as possible. And at this point, we are just looking for the Snorlax VMAX or a Pokemon Communication or a Great Ball. And there's the Snorlax VMAX, beautiful. And I've got the Retreat, I've got the Vulpix, I've got the Stellar Wish. I mean, we really have it all here. And a Heat Factory, just in case I need to draw more explosively. So we have been able to just go 1-2, turn 1 Heatran, turn 2 Snorlax VMAX, 210 damage, G-Max fall for knockout on that Magcargo, going down to just 3 prizes remaining. And I would be very surprised if my opponent is able to respond with another Magcargo. I mean, I guess they could do 200 damage. Again, if they get Welder, they could do 250 damage. If they get Welder for 2, attach 1 from hand, and then Crushing Charge, another energy onto it. But Snorlax VMAX is threatening another one-hit KO on the Magcargo, so they would have to really chain these Magcargos back to back to back to back. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially without one of those Celestial Storm Magcargos in play, which we saw that they just hit right there with the smooth over off of their Great Ball. So they probably are going for the Magcargo GX. They have to swing into the Snorlax. The Snorlax is not going anywhere, though. That thing is here to stay with its 340 hit points. So we've got another 2 prizes to take. And at this point, I am just looking to take this knockout. Hopefully they don't respond. They don't have any Slugmas or anything like that on the bench. So I'm thinking that we're in a good spot. They've got Island Challenge Amulet. That's fine. And they can Quick Ball and find themselves a Ditto Prism Star. So they are going to hold me at that. I was going to say I can knock out the Magcargo and I can knock out the Dedenne. Now I'm getting some of these Pokemon available to me on my opponent's side of the field that I can knock out for more prizes. And I'm thinking that so long as we knock out this Magcargo here, I should be able to clean up something on my opponent's side of the field for game. I can Welder and stow some energy on the Ninetales and maybe use Turtonator to finish the game off, or even just Victini Prism Star is another great option for us. So both of those work, and we've got Lava Flow for 200 damage. Still a very impressive turn for my opponent, the fact that they responded to all of that. Let's switch into the Jirachi. I know there's very little energy left in my deck at this point. I can Quick Ball and just get myself probably the Victini, probably the Turtonator actually. Seems good. And then we can Giant Hearth. I think there's one more energy in the deck. So we'll just grab that. One more. And then I'm fine using the Welder onto the Vulpix. So let's just go there and put 2 fire energies down onto the Vulpix just to have those in play. And then there's no reason to Fiery Flint, but I can grab the Ninetales just to throw that onto the Vulpix TEU, and then we can see if we find maybe a Fire Crystal or something like that. There's the Fire Crystal. The Welder is really good too, actually, but I think that a Fire Crystal is slightly better for us. So we're going to grab that. And then I'm going to knock out this Mahone. And then I'm put at 2 prizes remaining. So that's fine. And then I just KO the Dedenne for game. Or I could KO the Dedenne right now. And then I just have 1 prize left for game. And that's also fine. I mean, I have the resources available to me to KO the Dedenne right now, but I think I just want to knock out the Mahone while it's here. Just seems like the most reasonable thing to do. So let's just go in with that and Gmax fall for knockout on the Mahone. The challenge amulet, decreasing the amount of prizes I take, and irrelevant. I mean, I was going to hit for 210 damage anyway, so really just saving my opponent there a prize card. And I can't wait for Tool Scrapper to get reprinted. Apparently that has been revealed. Tool Scrapper is going to be a deck, or be a card that we see probably in a lot of decks in the upcoming months. It's being released in our next Sword and Shield sets. And Tool Scrapper is a funny card to see a reprint because it was played a ton when it was originally released, and then it fell out of favor for cards like Startling Megaphone and then eventually Field Blower, both of which kind of outclass Tool Scrapper. And now there is no tool removal in our current standard. So Tool Scrapper it is. Sounds great. It's a card that a lot of people may have just bulked out of their collections because it just seemed outclassed. Seemed like there would never be a time or a place to ever play Tool Scrapper again, with the existence of Field Blower being able to remove tools and stadiums. But Tool Scrapper is going to have its heyday again. So that's really cool, and I think that card's going to be in quite a few decks. I am kind of tired of having to play Lysander Labs if I want to interact with any of my opponent's tool cards they have in play, or Dangerous Drill, which I have not played. But yes, Tool Scrapper is a welcome addition to the format. Now, it'd be really tough, I'm not gonna lie, if my opponent uses, wow, the challenge amulet's really all over this deck. So they're going to force me to knock out this Mahone GX, which I can do. I can. It's just going to be tough. If they reset stamp me here, and I don't know if their deck plays reset stamp. Most Welder decks don't. But if they reset stamp me here, we're going to be having a hard time. We're going to need to find the Turtonator. We're going to need to find a Welder. We're going to need to find our Fire Crystal to really close this game off. And I think that in hindsight, probably benching that second Jirachi was a little bit greedy, so we didn't need to quite do that, but it's fine. Not get reset stamped. We are not going to get punished for this at all. And I've got Jirachi I can promote with the switch, go into the Escape Board of Jirachi, and we should have enough energy with our Turtonator to close this game off. Still a close game, though, I have to say. The deck definitely exceeded my expectations. So let's Stellar Wish. I think should be able to guarantee it. I could Heat Factory and guarantee it, but I want, yeah, I could Heat Factory and guarantee it. So let's do that. We're gonna go here, draw some cards, and then, ooh, it's in the bottom 3 cards of my deck. So we'll Stellar Wish, and we've got Welder, and then all I have to do is put the old turtle down, and we've got Fire Crystal, 3 fire energies. We did have to get rid of 2 Fire Crystals in the opening hand. So yes, that is going to be GG's to my opponent, and we've got the Turtonator with game. So there it is, the Snorlax VMAX Welder deck. Shout out to Holden Sheeks from our league here at Full Grip Games for inspiring me to take a look at this deck. It's a lot of fun to play. If you're a Snorlax VMAX fan, definitely check this deck out. It is better than I thought it was, and I really like the engine of the deck. Like I said, the 4 Great Ball, 4 Pokemon Communication, 4 Quick Ball allows you to really get your Heatran out into play quickly, and allows you to set up Snorlax VMAX as well as Ninetales very quickly and efficiently. So all in all, a consistent and fun deck to play, and I highly recommend giving it a try. Thank you all so much for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell, and check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday, Also, make sure to check out FullGripGames.com, where we've got Pokemon trading card game singles available for sale. Also, FullGripCodes.com for all your Pokemon trading card game online codes. We've got the newest codes available for instant email delivery on FullGripCodes.com. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to drop the video a like and sub to the channel. Take it easy and have a good one. Peace.